Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the panel. We've been pretty frustrated in Vermont with a kind of hurry up and wait situation. We had some of our folks submitting applications in round one, not getting much of an answer. We've been unsuccessful in getting any awards in round one. But I think the biggest frustration that our applicants have had is trying to figure out what the rules and regulations and the requirements are. And I know from my colleagues that they share an awful lot of that same frustration. So I have a couple of questions that I want to get to on that. But number one, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that only 15% of the amount promised for round one has been awarded. Is that right, Mr. Adelstein?
The amount is actually larger than that. We've done 895.
The percentage is what then?
Percentage, I'd say, by the time we complete this round, in the very near future, we'll have probably done 33%, 30%.
So, but it was all, by now it was supposed to have all been awarded, right?
Not by now. No, it has to be awarded by September 30th, 2010.
All right. And when folks in round one who applied were denied, did you provide applicants with information about what their technical problems were so that their proposals would be ready for round two? I mean, this is just a practical issue.
We did. We provided letters, over 1,000 letters to folks that had applied in the first round explaining why the application wasn't funded. In addition, we have a help desk set up that offers more detailed explanations, and we're striving to answer those calls as quickly as we can. We've got a lot of calls.
The dilemma, yeah, I don't want to be critical, but I do want to express the frustration that our folks in Vermont have had. They just don't get that sense that there's somebody on the other end of the line when they're making a call and they're not getting those practical answers. There may be somebody, quote, answering in an official way, but it's not as though there's some helpful information and knowledge to give them confidence that it's worth the time, effort, and expense to do a round two. So that's just for your consideration. Given the RUS focus on the last mile projects and NTIA's emphasis on middle mile projects, several Vermont companies or applicants have pointed out that they will be, from their perspective, unfairly disadvantaged by RUS preference for previous borrowers, as they have traditionally avoided borrowing from government. Vermont needs the investments from broadband investments, just like Mr. Terry's district does, to build these last mile facilities. So I'm just wondering, on a practical level, can you speak to that in a way that would be meaningful to our applicants in Vermont?
We really want to see those applicants. I mean, we are dead serious about having a diversity. Congress did mandate a priority in the statute for existing borrowers, but we really are funding the strongest applications we get in. We are funding a diversity of technologies, a diversity of applicants, many of whom are not Title II borrowers already. We really want to see those applicants come back.
Let me ask you this, because you've got applications from all over. This creates there's, quote, available money. Some people call it free money, and they're going to be scrambling to apply and try to get it. What were the considerations that were the basis of you deciding to make awards in round one, and what were the obstacles or the deficiencies in applications that you found on a pattern in the rejected applications?
Well, we were looking for projects that served areas that didn't have adequate service today was the main feature, particularly rural areas. Looking at Vermont, it was very much like much of the country. The issues that we looked at primarily that caused applications to fall through were that a number of applicants that were supposed to be more than 50 miles away from a town or city, in fact, weren't, and therefore weren't eligible. We've eliminated that issue, so in the second round, people should be encouraged to apply on that. A number of applicants applied for more than a 50% grant amount, which was the maximum in the first round. Again, we've gone up to 75, and we've provided flexibility. And again, that should encourage applicants to reapply. Finally, we had issues with financial feasibility, which hopefully they can address.
Well, and there's a process by which incumbents can challenge the qualifications of an applicant's service area. So it torpedoes an application. How are you going to handle that? I mean, how can, on a practical level, we handle that?
We don't take the word of the incumbent or the word of the applicant. We actually will go into the field and determine whether there is service there. We have a field operation in virtually every state in the country, and we will go out and look at applicants' word versus the incumbent and make our own determination. Now, applicants will say their areas are underserved, the incumbent will say it's served. We can't just take either one or the other as a priority, what they're saying. We have to do our own analysis, and we do. So people, just because they're getting those assertions, they should really know who's in their area. If you're applying for funding, our competitive analysis requires them to say who else is in the district that they're trying to serve, the service area, and let us know, and then we will evaluate that in terms of whether the project is actually feasible.
Okay. Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.